Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namaham Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvisheshai Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarini Jayo Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tatho Jayam Uddhirayet Nashtaprayashu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Hare Krishna. So today we'll discuss about Kardama Muni. Okay. So this is the prayers of Kardama Muni. So this is from Canto 3. So Canto 3, Chapter 24. Right. So so the actual verses are from 28 to 33. So we'll see the prayers of Kardama Muni, but before that, right? So I'll just give you a background of where this is coming in. Yeah. So where does this fit in? Okay. So last week, right, we saw that we were actually touch basing about the creation, right? Because Sukdev Goswami, Parikshit Maharaj had asked a question to Sukdev Goswami, right? So to tell about the creation, right? And then before telling about the creation, right, Sukdev Goswami offered nice prayers to the Lord, right? And then we saw those prayers last week, right? And then this is during that continuation of the discussions only. So wherein it goes to the third canto. So yeah. So in this, right, what happens is the Prajapatis, right? So because Brahma actually started creating the universe, right? So during that phase, right? So here, so he's actually trying to say populate the universe. Okay. So in that phase, right, we know that there were four Kumaras were born, and then they said that they will be celibate all their life, right? So and then there were Manus and all. He populated and asked them to increase the population, yeah, of the universe. Yeah. So in that phase only, Kardama Muni was also born from Lord Brahma. Okay. And then Kardama Muni also got the order from Lord Brahma that he has to actually help populating this universe. Yeah. So he was given that task. Okay. And what happened is that was in Satya Yuga. Yeah. And Kardama Muni, right? So he was a very liberated soul. Yeah. And then, so to do that activity, right? He first did the tapasya. So he wanted to do tapasya. Um, and so for that, he came to the material world. Yeah. So, and then he did tapasya for 10,000 years. Yeah. So he was having all mystic powers and all, and then say near the river Saraswati. So he did uh, tapasya for 10,000 years. Yeah. So wherein meditated upon the Lord, and it so happened that the Lord also gave him the darshan. Yeah. So he gets so that's the ultimate objective, right? So he did pray. He was meditating, right? So during so basically he was going through this brahmacharya phase, right? So wherein he meditated on the Lord, and then he got the darshan of the Lord. Okay. And then So in there, right? So he says that after there is a lot of description which is there. Okay, so if you read those cantos, right, then the earlier chapters, so there is a lot of discussion. Say how the Lord appeared, and then so it was exactly what he had heard, right? So because he had heard that Shankha, Chakra, Gada, and then the type of flowers the Lord wears, everything, right? So whatever he had heard in as per the Shastras, right? See, he could visualize everything in the Lord. Okay. So and the Lord also reciprocated and then he came in. Okay. So after that, what happens is Kardama Muni actually says that so I have one desire also. So I want to marry. Okay. And because this was the instruction given by my father to actually populate the to expand the progeny. So I got your darshan, but one thing I would like to like is I want to get married also. So he puts a proposal and then he says that so I'm looking for a bride. So he says that I'm looking for a fit candidate. Yeah. So then the Lord says that yeah. So as you wish. So in the day after tomorrow, right? Say Manu will come, so with his daughter, right, Devahuti, and then he will actually come to this place, and then he'll actually give her in marriage to you. Okay. Then Manu was the ruler, right? So he was the king, right? He was the king of the whole universe. Yeah. And then Devahuti belongs to the royal family now. Okay. But whereas Kardama Muni is a Brahmana who is only having an hermitage, okay, and then which is in a lush green area. So he heard that, and then he said that that would be your best fit proposal. So Kardama Muni had asked, saying that I need a suitable match, and then he said that so that's the thing. So you see, in that time, right, how things were being arranged, right? So the marriage and everything, right? So none of them saw, right? Neither Kardama Muni saw Devahuti or the other way, right? So vice versa. Nor Devahuti saw Kardama Muni, right? So it was all which was arranged, okay? And then so he said, okay, that's fine. And then the Lord said that even I'll appear in your, I'll appear as a son of yours also, okay? And then so I'm just cutting all the stories short. Yeah, you can actually read through if you want because there is a lot of description. So I'm just touching the periphery because I want to touch base his prayers. So I'm just giving the background. Okay, and then what happens is Kardamuni says okay, and then the Lord disappears from the place, and then so what happens is same way as the Lord mentioned, right? So here on the next said day after tomorrow, right? So on that day, say Manu reached to the spot, yeah. So Manu reached to the spot with her daughter. So wherein he wanted to give her daughter's hand to Kardama Muni. Yeah. And then so while coming in, right? Because he was a king, right? So it's all royal procession and everything was going on. Yeah. So he came with all the paraphernalia and everything, right? So whenever he comes in, so and then he was amazed with the nature, with the beauty, where nature's beauty, where actually Kardama Muni was living, and then hermitage, yeah. And suppose that so Kardama Muni and Manu have some interactions, yeah. So wherein say one is from Kshatriya, one is from Brahmana, right? So they actually speak. So there is some small conversation which both have in, okay. And then so Manu is the one who wrote Manusmriti, right? Who gave the law book for the human life. Right? So what happens is the interaction goes on, and then he says that the proposal is there, so wherein you'll have to marry Devahuti, okay. And then say Kardamuni have heard about Devahuti. So Devahuti was very beautiful, okay. And then say when she was at her young age, right? So at that time, the Gandharas actually were flying, and then she was playing with her ankles on the terrace. So what happened is the Gandharvas, by looking at her beauty, they fell down from their airplane. Yeah. And then so at that time they had asked, um, say they only fell down with her beauty. Okay. So that's the background about Devahuti, right? And then I think at that time even they had proposed her, but she rejected that offer. So she came in, and then in that interaction, right? So Kardamuni accepts Devahuti as his wife. He says that I know that she is very chaste, and then I'm happy to accept her, but there is a condition. Okay. So there is a little bit twist in the story here. Yeah. So he says that I'll marry her, but there is one condition. He says that once the children, once we marry, and then once we have children, then I'll actually leave her and then I'll practice sannyas. Okay. I'll go into my next phase of life. So that's what is the condition. Okay. And Manu and Devavati agree for it. Yeah. So what happens is then Manu leaves in, and then Devavati, right from the uh, moment, right, the father has left, she actually starts serving his husband. So Kardama Muni still continues with his austerities, with his uh, this yoga practice and the devotional service, yeah, bhakti yoga, it continues. Yeah. And then Devahuti also serves him as a menial servant, yeah, because she came from a royal family, right? So here, so she didn't have all the say maids or nothing. She was all doing herself, all cooking, whatever it is, right? So because devotional service, right, it needs a lot of paraphernalia, collecting stuff, right, and then preparing bhogas, whatever Kardamuni needed, right? She was actually doing it very faithfully and religiously. Yeah. So she did it for so many years. She served Kardamuni. Okay. So many years passed by, so wherein she was continuously, relentlessly serving, because it's a jungle, right? It's not unlike like today, right? Wherein we have electricity, we have machines for doing all the jobs. On phone call, we get all the stuff. It's not that way, right? It's a jungle. So wherein they're in an hermitage, and then so many things have to be arranged for the sacrifices and all, right? Yagnas and all. So whatever Kardama Muni was doing, and she was very faithfully, very chastely she was doing it. And then as couple of years passed by, right? So Kardama Muni, say one day, she was very pleased with the services which Devahuti had offered, right? So this chapter, right, this particular episode, Kardama Muni and Devahuti teaches us how do one live in a Grihastha life, right? So Grihastha life, right? How? one should live in, right? So both are ideal characters. They show us the way, right? So she was following the footsteps of his husband, right, of her husband, and then she was getting uh, the blessings or the sukruti, right? So the pious credits. So she was serving a pure devotee, right? By serving a pure devotee, right, she was actually backfilling her quota, right? So because she has to do so many things, right? So by helping the devotee, right, she was getting all sukrutis, right? So she didn't knew that she is actually piling up so much of pious things in her baggage. Yeah. So this went on, and then one day Kardama Muni says that you have served me so nicely. So I think so now even she became very weak, and then she was having all dirt and all her hair got matted, and yeah, so she was very skinny at that time. And then Kardama Muni felt that no, so you have done so much for me, and then yeah, so as promised, right? So now we'll actually go into the Grihastha life. So we'll move on. So then he actually says that, so you take a bath in the Bindu Sarovar. Okay. So that Bindu Sarovar has also an history, so which was actually formed from one of the drops of the Lord when he saw Kardama Muni's devotional practice which was being done. Okay. And then she comes out, so wherein by the time she comes out, right, Kardama Muni with his mystic power actually creates a seven-storied flying ship or aircraft, whatever we say. It was a seven-storied flying aircraft which he created with all the amenities. Okay, so the doors were decorated with diamonds, pearls. So she had all the maid servants, right, and say the couches, beds, different rooms, paraphernalia, food items, everything. So whatever we in modern days we call it as a cruise ship, right? So our cruise ship is of one story, but at that time we created seven story. Yeah. And then so it didn't need any fuel or anything. So it was with his will. So it can go to anywhere and then come down. Yeah. So wherever he like he could travel. So and then sh- say he took Devahuti onto that plane, and then they were traveling different places, right, of the universe. So wherever they liked, right. So they were spending time, right, and then as time went on, right. So in between, say when they were actually going to different places, right. So by then they had actually spent so many years in between. Yeah. And then the time came in when Devahuti said that, say, for a woman, children's are something say, which are the jewels for her. So I need to beget children's. Okay. Then Kardama Muni actually gave, so and said that okay. And then Devahuti had 9 daughters. Okay. And then Kardama Muni, his deal was there, right, saying that he'll live in, right. Then Devahuti said that you have given me 9 daughters, but who will take care of me if you will move out, right? So then Lord Kapila was born. Okay. So once Lord Kapila was born, so he said he's Kardamuni says that do not worry. So the Lord himself will come, and then he will teach you Sankhya. Okay. And then the Sankhya philosophy which we have in, right? So that was given by the Lord Kapila. Okay. So he is known as Kapila, the son of Devahuti. Okay. So there are two Kapilas. One is another Mayavadi or someone, but the actual Kapila is the son of Devahuti. Okay. So even if you see, I think Prabhupada has written a book also about Lord Kapila, and it's written as Devahuti's son. So he says that, so the Supreme Personality is only going to come and then he'll take care of you and then he'll teach you Sankhya to by your means to the whole world. Yeah? And then Kardamun actually is about to leave. So this is all the background which I had to give. Sorry if it is long, but to actually enter into this topic, right, I needed this much background. I've cut short so many things, but yeah, at least you have some sort of idea. So where we are in, okay. So this is all we are entering into 24th chapter. So by then, right, so many chapters have passed away. So whatever I said, right. So what happened is at this time, right? So you'll see here, um, Kardamuni actually, so Lord Brahma comes in and actually praises Kardamuni that you have done whatever I have told you, and then he says that to give away the daughters to the foremost sages. So Kardamuni actually gives away his daughters to the sages. Yeah. So here he says that. Told Devahuti, my dear daughter of Manu. So here Brahma says to Devahuti, the Supreme Personality of Godhead who killed the demon Kaitava is now within your room. He will cut off all the knots of your ignorance and doubt. Then he'll travel all over the world. Your son will be the head of all perfected souls. He'll be approved by the Acharyas expert in disseminating real knowledge, and among the people he will be celebrated by the name Kapila as the son of Devahuti. Okay, he'll increase your fame. So this is what the scene is all about, right? So Kardamuni handed over his daughter. So now he is actually giving. So even the names are being given. Okay, so whom to which daughter gave it to which rishi. Yeah, and then the sage took leave of Kardamuni and departed full of joy with his. When Kardamuni understood the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the chief of all demigods, Vishnu, had descended, Kardamuni approached his in a secluded place and he offered the obeisances and spoke. So this is where his prayers are. Okay. Kardamuni said, "Oh, after a long time, the demigods of the universe have become pleased with the suffering souls who are in material entanglement because of their own misdeeds." Yeah. Okay. So Kardamuni is saying that the demigods of the universe have become pleased. Okay. So now because the Lord has come and then where he'll actually take back the conditioned souls. Okay. So now we'll read 4 5 slokas and then we'll read the purports also. Okay. So this is the prayers wherein Kardamuni starts his prayers. Yeah. So he says that बहुजन बहुजन्म विपक्वेन सम्यग् योग समाधिनः द्रष्टुम यतन्ते यतः शून्य शून्यगरेषु यत्पादम्. Okay. So bahu, many janma after births, vipakvena, which is mature, samyak perfect, yoga samadhina, by trance in yoga, drashtum, to see, yatante, they endeavor, yataha, the yogis, shunya agareshu, in secluded place, yat, whose padam, feet. Yeah. After many births, mature yogis by complete trance in yoga endeavor in secluded place to see the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay. We'll see through the purport. So here, basically, the gist is Kardamuni is saying that it takes so many years, right? Bahunam Janmanam. So it says that many births after birth, right? So who are mature in yoga, right? So in a secular place. So this is in Satya Yoga, right? So wherein people were living at for an average of 1 lakh years. Yeah. So in which, if you look, even in that span also, so people were not getting a chance to see the get the darshan of the Lord. Yeah. So here, even Kardma Muni says that I'm lucky to see you in this particular in one life. Yeah. So wherein he had spent 10,000 years doing the devotional service. Yeah, in a secluded place. So even in modern age, if we actually shrink it to 100 years, we can say, right? So at least Kali Yuga, we say that it's 100 years. If we say 10%, right, of our 100 years is 10 years. So do we have that capability of going and then doing devotional service in a secluded place, or giving 10 years only for the Lord? So that's the way, say, only doing tapa for 10 years, right? So it's not possible. Even if we shorten it also, right? It doesn't. So we can't actually stay for 10 days also. So live about 10 years. Yeah. And then even Prabhupada writes, right? These days, the modern yoga, which all the population is being doing in, right? Which is practicing. So that is just a breathing exercise. And then that will not help us to connect to the Lord, right? So yoga is what? Yoga is nothing but to connect to the Lord, right? So these are only breathing exercise stunts which we do in for 15-20 minutes in a day, and that's it. So it only helps in improving our breathing, but it will not help anything in devotional service. Yeah. Okay. Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, you want to read this word? Purport? Did I mute anyone? Okay. Melinda Mataji, do you want to read this word, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Some important things are mentioned here about yoga. The word Bahu Janma Vipakvena means after many, many births of mature yoga practice. And another word, Samyag Yoga Samadhina, means by complete practice of the yoga system. Complete practice of the yoga means Bhakti Yoga. Unless one comes to the point of Bhakti Yoga or surrenders to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one's yoga practice is not complete. This same point is corroborated in Bhagavad Gita. Bahunam Janmanam Ante, after many, many births, the Janani who has matured in transcendental knowledge surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Kardma Muni repeats the same statement. After many, many years and many, many births of complete practice of yoga, one can see the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord in a secluded place. It is not that after one practices some sitting postures he immediately becomes perfect. One has to perform yoga a long time, many, many births, to become mature, and a yogi has to practice in a secluded place. One cannot practice yoga in a city or in a public park and declare that he has become God simply by some exchange of dollars. This is all bogus propaganda. Those who are actually yogis practice in a secluded place, and after many, many births, they become successful, provided they surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the completion of yoga. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Okay. I just saw Prabhu. Sorry. Okay, Prabhu, I think you'll not be able to read. That's fine. So we'll read it. We'll take turns. So this is the thing, right? So the devotional service which we do in, right, and then to get out of this cycle of birth, old age, disease, and death, right? So we'll have to do this devotional service. We'll have to practice, yeah. And then we never know. So if you could do it in this life only, it's much better, right? If not, right, it will take some years, right? And then only There'll be, so the same thing is being told, right? So in this one, so where in Bhagavad Gita, right? So where in Prabhupada quotes, right? Bahunam janmanam ante jnanvamam prapadyante vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabham. So what is being said that it takes so many janmas, right? So wherein one gets the real knowledge of the devotional service, saying that so the purpose of this life is not to again get birth and then take the cycle, right? So again, we should not follow the chakra. So the intelligent person, right? So will get this information, and then who are they? So that when he knows that Vasudeva, right? Sarvamiti. So he will only know after so many births that, okay, say for example, if someone is a Jnani, right, he'll take so many births to understand the bhakti, to come into bhakti, right? So in that way, right, so even karmi to get to convert into Jnani and then Jnani to bhakti, right? So ultimate thing is bhakti. Okay, so whatever we do, either we do any yoga system you do, right? At the end, we'll have to come to the bhakti yoga, and then thereon our devotional service starts on, and then we don't know so how many births will take it, and then only so we actually get out of this cycle. So he says that Sa Mahatma is Sudurlabham. So getting those candidates, right? So that devotional tinge, right, is very difficult, right? So even if you look in it, so there are so many people, right? So who actually try, and then if you look in the Bhagavad Gita level one course, right? So you'll see that there will be a lot of registrations, right? And you will be seeing that the day one, right, you'll find so many people, so many would be enthusiastic. But when it comes to the day 18, right, you'll see that half of them are filtered. Yeah. And in next level, you'll see that again half of them are filtered. So in that way, right, if you look in, right, there will be only one person, yeah. So who can actually give up the whole life. So that one person would be in millions. There would be 1 in 1 million who can actually give up his life or dedicated his life for serving the Lord, right? Say like Prabhupada or say the our Guru Maharaj and all this, right? So they are all where 1 in 1 million who can actually give up their whole life, right, to surrender to the Lord. So rest all are here and there. So we are all waving here, sometime here, sometime there. So it's, even if we give a chance, right? So because people feel that okay, so the moment someone is actually associated with ISKCON, right? So he'll become a brahmachari or something. So that doesn't happen unless there is mercy, right? So nobody need not worry about that. Yeah. So if he becomes, that's well and good. But to become that, right, it's not easy. So there would be one person who will happen. Okay. So rest all are like, yeah, there are all passerbys, passengers only. Yeah. So and then that too, you'll have to do some mature yogas. It's nothing that's vipakvena is there, right? So pakva is nothing but ripened. You'll have to be mature. Then only in yoga system, in a secluded place, and then for many births, if the Lord has the mercy, then you get to see Him. Else, it's not there. It takes more time. Yeah. So, and then the other thing is, as we touch base, right? So it doesn't happen in your public places or in a gym somewhere, right? So people do these all yoga centers and all. And then if they say that they have become God, so then that's simply waste. We shouldn't believe in them. Okay. It doesn't happen in that easy. सा एव भगवान् आद्य हेलनं न गण्यनः गृहेषु जतो ग्राम्याणां यः स्वानां पक्षपोषणः स eva, that very same Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Adya, today, Helanam, negligence, na, not, Gananyam, considering high and low, na, our griheshu, in the houses, jata appeared, gramanyam, gramayanam, of ordinary householders, yaha, he who swanam of his devotees, paksha poshana, who supports the party. Not considering the negligence of ordinary households like us, that very same Supreme Personality of Godhead appears in our homes just to support his devotees. Yeah. Mataji, you would like to read this one? Arpan?
Yes, yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Devotees are so affectionate towards the personality of Godhead that although he does not appear before those who practice yoga in a secluded place, even for many, many births, he agrees to appear in a householder's home where devotees engage in devotional service without material yoga practice. In other words, devotional service to the Lord is so easy that even a householder can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead as one of the members of his household, as his son, as Kardama Muni experienced. He was a householder, although a yogi, but he had the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Muni, as his son. Devotional service is such a powerful transcendental method that it surpasses all other methods of transcendental realization. The Lord therefore says that he lives neither in Vaikuntha nor in the heart of a yogi, but he lives where his pure devotees are always chanting and glorifying him. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is known as Bhakta Vatsala. He is never described as Jnanani Vatsala or Yogi Vatsala. He is always described as Bhakta Vatsala because he is more inclined towards his devotees than towards other transcendentalists. In Bhagavad Gita, it is confirmed that only a devotee can understand him as he is. Bhaktya Mam Abhigyanati, one can understand me only by devotional service, not otherwise. That understanding alone is real because although Gyananis, mental speculators, can realize only the effulgence or the bodily luster of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and yogis can realize only the partial representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, a bhakta not only realizes him as he is, but also associates with the personality of Godhead face to face. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So here, so the Lord actually says that Kardamuni says about the Lord that the Lord is Bhakta Vatsala, right? So he actually descends. Okay? So whenever he descends, right? So he descends into a devotee family, right? So he is actually taking, he agrees to appear in a householder's home. Yeah. So because he's what? He's Bhagwan, right? He's complete in everything. He doesn't need anything. He's rich in all six opulences, right? And but say he gets purchased by the devotees. Okay. So that's the thing, right? Even whenever anything is being asked, right? The Lord actually gives easily liberation. Mukti he'll give, but he'll never give bhakti. To attain bhakti is very, very, very advanced, and then it's not easy. So the Lord is very merciful. If at all he sees that the devotional service which has been practiced and then which has been offered, right? If it pleases him, right? Then only he agrees to become an householder or become a member of the family, right? Else the Lord doesn't appear. So that pastimes which he has in it, he has only with very close one, right? So like being the son of Yashoda and then getting chastised by Yashoda, right? So he, who is he? He is the, so he is the proprietor of everything, all the universe, right? But even when Yashoda Maya shows a stick, right, he gets afraid, right? So all these pastimes he does only because, see, he's ready to become a son also, right? And then he's ready to get the heat of the mother. So all those things the Lord does only with the devotional or devotees or the bhaktas. He doesn't do all these things with the gyanis or karmis. Yeah? So he's not. That's what Prabhupada says, that he's not. He's never described as Jnani Vatsala or Yogi Vatsala. He never does them. So for Jnanis, he'll give the mukti. So they'll go and merge in the Brahman. Okay. And again, so yeah, so I think this is also an nice sloka which was from 18th chapter, where Prabhupada actually quotes the 18th chapter, right? So Bhaktya Mam Abhijanati Yavan Yaschasmi Tattvata Tato Mam Tattvato Gyatva Vishate Tadanantaram. So here the Lord says that, so you can't understand the Lord with any other things, like with Gyanis or Karmis, they cannot understand. And the God is only understood by devotional service, bhaktya, right? By pure. So he says that bhaktya mam, right? Abhijanati. So with devotional service to me, mam, he says to me, then only you will know. Rest all things you'll not know. And when one is fully conscious of me by the devotional service, then he can enter into the Visate Tadanantaram. So he can go to the abode, kingdom of the Godhead, right? Even here, right? Because the Gyanis also have some agenda, right? So what happens is they'll try to merge in the Brahman, right? So the though one merges into the light of the Brahman, right? So one is not going to get mixed up. The individuality is still there. So it's like a green color. Uh, yeah, see the same purport, it's been mentioned that there is a green tree and then there is a green bird entering into the tree, right? So it doesn't mean that the green tree and the green bird are same, right? Why did that green? So the individuality of the bird still there, is there, right? So even it sits on the branches of the green tree, and then it went there to eat the fruits. Yeah. Similarly, this GAN is right. So once they go there, their stuff, their individuality still exists, right? So and then they want to enjoy the fruits there. Okay. So that's the reason Gyanis and all, so they can't see the Lord anytime. Okay. So they cannot realize. So this is what the Lord says, right? Gyanis, the mental speculators, can realize only the effulgence of the bodily luster of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And yogis can realize only the partial representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay. But bhaktas will realize they can see the Lord face to face. So which is the end ultimate for everyone. Swayam vakyam ratam karutam kartum avatirno asime grihe चिकीर्षुर् भगवान ज्ञानम भक्तानां मान वर्तनः स्वयं your own vakyam words ratham true kartum to make avatirna descended asi you are migrahe in my house chikirshur desirous of disseminating bhagavan the personality of godhead jnanam knowledge bhaktanam of the devotees mana the honor Vardhana, who increases. Translation Kardma Muni said, you, my dear Lord, who are always increasing the honor of your devotees, have descended in my home just to fulfill your word and disseminate the process of real knowledge. So, Mataji, would you like to read this?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
When the Lord appeared before Kardama Muni after his mature yoga practice, he promised that he would become Kardama's son. He descended as the son of Kardama Muni in order to fulfill that promise. Another purpose of his appearance is Chikirsur Bhagavan Jnanam, to distribute knowledge. Therefore, he is called Bhaktanam Mana Mana Vardhana. He who increases the honor of his devotees. By distributing Sankhya, he would increase the honor of the devotees. Therefore, Sankhya philosophy is not dry mental speculation. Sankhya philosophy means devotional service. How could the honor of the devotees be increased unless Sankhya were meant for devotional service? Devotees are not interested in speculative knowledge. Therefore, the Sankhya enunciated by Kapila Muni is meant to establish one firmly in devotional service. Real knowledge and real liberation is to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead and engage in devotional service. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So here, right? So again, the real purpose of why the Lord has actually taken birth, right? So he has actually come to disseminate, right? So the mental speculations and all, whatever are there, right? And then here the Lord has come to teach Sankhya. Okay. So basically, Sankhya, most of them they feel that it's all dry speculation which goes in from the Jnani perspective, right? But here, so in the rest of the chapters, right? So when actually Kapila Muni teaches Sankhya to his mother Devahuti, right? If you see through, right? He'll teach Sankhya as a means of devotional service. So majority of the stuff which he talks, right, it will be in relation with the devotional service. So Sankhya is not separate from devotional service. Yeah. So this goes hand in hand. That's what the Lord wanted to come and establish here, right? So and then he says that the actual liberation only will happen when we surrender to the Lord. Yeah.
Prabhuji, one question. What do you mean by Sankhya philosophy?
See, Sankhya is nothing but so if I'll have to tell you simple language, right? So the uh, we can actually think of in the Bhagavad Gita. We have 13th chapter, right? So wherein it goes about the different elements, right? Which are being made of, right? So like the earth, water, fire, ether, the physical elements, right? So what does this universe comprise of? All those things, right? So it's basically all the technical words and the way things are being mentioned, right? So the even we know that the input sensors, output sensors, and everything, right? All those things, right? So basically more towards this metaphysics kind of things, right? So all those things comes under Sankhya. Uh,
Okay.
so which is at least I think we can't understand those. Uh, So basically, the Gyanis actually speculate a lot of things, right? So for them, so all this Sankhya philosophy comes in. Yeah?
Okay.
But the actual thing is, we need not go into those things. So that's what is mentioned. So for us, right? So we need not take into all these paths. So for us, the simple instructions which have been given by Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya, right? So Lord Chaitanya has already given us the way.
Mhm.
So he has said that for Kali Yuga, it's all Shravanam and then chanting. Yeah. So that is the Yuga Dharma for us. Yeah. So all these things we are discussing as these are coming as a part of our topics. Yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare
Yeah.
Krishna.
तेनेव ते अभिरूपाणि रूपाणि भगवांस्तव यानि यानि च रोचन्ते स्वज्ञानम् आरोपिणः तानि दोष एव truly they your abhirupani suitable rupani forms Bhagavan, O Lord, Tava, your yani yani whichever cha and Ruchanti are pleasing. Swa Jnanam to your Swa Janan Swa Jananam. Sorry. To your own devotees. It's not Jnanam. Aropina of one with no material form. My dear Lord, although you have no material form, you have your own innumerable forms. They truly are your transcendental forms which are pleasing to your devotees. So in the Brahma Samhita, it is stated that the Lord is one absolute. He has ananta or innumerable forms, right? So in Brahma Samhita, we have this stanza, right? Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Ananta Rupam. Yeah? So wherein this is the song by Lord Brahma, right? So the Lord is the original form, but still he manifests in multiform forms. So Advaitam, Achyutam, Anadim, Ananta Rupam. So he has got multiforms. Yeah? So multiforms are actually manifested by his transcendent by him transcendentally according to the tastes of his multi devotees. It is understood that once Hanuman, the great devotee of the Lord Ramchandra, said that he knew that Narayana, the husband of Lakshmi, and Rama, the husband of Sita, are one and the same. And there is no difference between Lakshmi and Sita. But as for himself, he liked the form of Lord Rama. So there are multi forms, and then whichever one get connects to, right? So there is no harm in worshipping it. Yeah. In a similar way, some devotees worship the original form of Krishna. When we say Krishna, we refer to all the forms of the Lord, not only Krishna. So here, when we are saying it's Lord Krishna, so we are actually referring to all the forms of Krishna like Rama, Narasimha, Vara, Narayana, etc. The varieties of transcendental form exist simultaneously. That is also stated in the Brahma Samhita. Ramadi Murtisiv Nana Vratam. So this is also a stanza. He already exists in multi forms, but none of the forms are material. Okay. So though he appears on the earth, right, his presence is transcendental. His body and everything is transcendental. So Sridhar Swami has commented that Aropina without form means without material form. Okay. So he's clarifying. So his body is not, he is always Sachitanand. Yeah. The Lord has form, otherwise how can it be stated here? Yeah. Tene eva te abhirupani rupani bhagwan stava. You have your forms, but they are not material. Materially, you have no form, but spiritually, transcendently, you have multi forms. This is what we mention. Yeah? Mayavadi philosophers cannot understand these transcendental forms of the Lord, and being disappointed, they say that the Supreme Lord is impersonal. So, but that is not the fact. When there is a form, there is a person. Many times in the Vedic literature, the Lord is described as Purusha. Yeah? Which means the original form or the enjoyer, right? So we all know that also, right? So the Lord is the enjoyer, right? The conclusion is that the Lord has no material form, and yet, according to the liking of different grades of devotees, he simultaneously exists in multi forms, right? So depending upon the way the uh, devotees want to associate it, so the Lord actually has multi forms to whom we can get connected to, right? There are many thousands and thousands of forms, but they are all Vishnu Tattva or Krishna. Okay, so yeah, so this is the last one. With this, we'll end up. Tvam Shurubhis Bhubutsaya Adhya Adha, sorry. Tattva Vibhutsayadha Sada Abhivardhana Padapitam Aishwarya Vairagya Yasho Avobodha Virya Shreya Purtam Aham Prapadye Tvam unto you Surabhi by the great sages, Tattva, the absolute truth, Bhubutsaya, with a desire to understand, Ada, certainly, Sada, always, Abhivada, of worshipful respects, Arahana, which are worthy, Pada, of your feet, Pitham, to the seat, Aishwarya, opulence, Vairagya, renunciation, Yashya, fame, Avobodha, knowledge, Virya, strength, Shreya, with beauty, Pur, Purtam, who are full, Aham, I, Prapadya, surrender. My dear Lord, your lotus feet are the reservoir that always deserve to receive worshipful homage from all great sages eager to understand the absolute truth. You are full of opulence, in opulence, renunciation, transcendental fame, knowledge, strength, and beauty. And therefore, I surrender myself onto your lotus feet. So, here Kapil Muni is actually saying that you are the reservoir of everything, right? Of all great sages who are eager to understand. And then you are full. So, this is nothing but Bhagwan, right? So, it's nothing but the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, who is called Bhagwan? Who has all six qualities in full, right? The one who is full in opulence, one who has full in renunciation, strength, knowledge, beauty, fame, right? So if anyone says that, say, I'm God, right? So ask them if he has 100% of all these things, right? So then we can tell him he's a God. So can we find any examples who has all these things? It's not possible. So one may have one quality or two. So even if one has this quality, right? So he'll become so he'll be considered uh, 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 to be an what do we say? To be a celebrity, right? So anyone has fame, anyone has opulence, right? So but in Kali Yuga, it's all more towards the opulence, right? Yeah, Mataji, you can read this purport, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Actually, those who are searching after the absolute truth must take shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and worship Him. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna advised Arjuna many times to surrender unto Him, especially at the end of the ninth chapter. Man mana bhava mad bhaktaha. If you want to be perfect, just always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer your obeisances to me. In this way, you will understand me, the personality of Godhead, and ultimately you will come back to me, back to Godhead, back home. Why is it so? The Lord is always full in six opulences as mentioned herein: wealth, renunciation, fame, knowledge, strength, and beauty. The word Purtam means in full. No one can claim that all wealth belongs to him, but Krishna can claim it since he has full wealth. Similarly, he is full in knowledge, renunciation, strength, and beauty. He is full in everything, and no one can surpass him. Another one of Krishna's name is Asamurdhava, which means that no one is equal to or greater than him. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. So we spoke about his opulences and everything, right? And then the Lord says, right, to Arjuna. So, when he says to Arjuna, it is to all, right? So Arjuna is only a medium. So wherein he says that Manmana Madbhakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskuro Mam Nevashyase Satyam Te Pratijano Priyasmi. So he says that so we'll have to actually with our mind, right, and everything, right? So we'll have to worship, right? So he says that just always think of me. Manmana Madbhakti Madhyaji Mam Namaskuro. So you always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and pay obeisances to me. So if we do these things, right, he says that if we do this with proper intention, right, then the Lord says that, so I'll give you the guarantee that I'll take you. back to Godhead. So that's what the Lord gives us. So he says that if we do it, if we surrender, right? So we shouldn't have any tinge of material desires. Right? So if we have that pure heart which we have given to the Lord, then the Lord reciprocates and he says that I'm ready to take it. And then he has given the formula also, what we'll have to do it. Yeah. So with this, we'll end today's session. And then last class, I think Prabhuji had asked a question about sin and offense, right? So sin is nothing but our papa punyas, Prabhu. So if there are any sins, so that we can counteract with papas and punyas, but offenses are something which we do to the Vaishnavas. And then that is something which is a greater risk. And to we can't get out of offenses. So it is very difficult to get a solution for the offenses. So that's the thing. So any offenses which we commit for the pure Vaishnavas who have actually given their life to cater the services to the Lord, right? So for them, we should not actually, if anything, we speak of ill or anything, right? So that becomes an offense which we should avoid. Okay. So with that, um, we'll close today's session. Anything else you want, Mataji?
Yeah, I had one question, Prabhuji. In the first, in the beginning of the initial classes, we read about Arjuna's prayers also. In
Mm,
that, Ashwatthama was releasing the nuclear
yeah.
weapon, and
Uh-huh.
Arjuna counteracts with his weapon and diffuses his weapon. And then the next chapter starts with Ashwatthama trying had already attacked Uttara's child.
Mm-hmm.
So when does this happen? Is this the same time when he releases the first one, which Arjuna protects?
Yes.
Because okay.
So those astras, right? So Mataji, that time the astras also these mantras which they used to recite, and then when they leave these arrows, right? So the Brahmastra, so it only will actually deceive or it will target the particular audience itself. So he had released these to kill the Pandavas. So he wanted to destroy the whole dynasty of the Pandavas.
Mhm.
So one of the one which was actually he had actually shot two. So one for them. Okay. So wherein one of them was actually backtracked by Arjuna. Right. And then there was the other one which was actually going towards Parikshit Maharaj. Yeah. And then
Mhm.
that was the one which uh, the Lord entered into the womb of Uttara and then he actually
Saved
stopped it.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So overall, you can understand that it was Ashwatthama who had released, and then he wanted to destroy the dynasty of Pandavas because if Parikshit Maharaj was not born, right, so there is no other progeny, right? So there is no other Uttaradhikari, right? Because already Abhimanyu was not there, right? So he has left his body. So there is only one person, right?
Mm.
So it was Parikshit Maharaj to whom actually Lord Krishna saved him. Okay.
Yes. Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, we'll wind up for today. Vancha kalpatarobhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavyo namo namo. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.